It is July. Just finished up the 4th of July. You may not be able to tell with this lighting, but I am rocking a pretty great tan right now.
Dude,
but I'm
shut up.
A little flushed out with this lighting. It's been a while. We are the Sons of Saturday. You have BRM and you have Pat. And man, what a ride it's been for Pat. He's got a new haircut. He's got a new driver's license. He has a new address. I just want to hear from you, man. What is new with your life? There you go. For all of you, we started recording this and Pat just flashed his whole ID. It's like, dude, you do not need your identity stolen today or tomorrow. So we did have to retake that.
What's up, dude? What's up, everyone? It's good to be on the pod. Just spent 6 days in Blacksburg for the 4th of July. Wow. Blacksburg, man. You go to Blacksburg and people are selling Blacksburg short in the summer. If you've never really spent significant time there in the summer, you've been spending time incorrectly elsewhere. I'll say that.
It really is like it's a great soft reset. You get out there, you know, like the scenes are beautiful. The weather is so nice. There's no traffic. And Pat, you know, for those of you who haven't
traffic,
I'm saying like you love, one of your favorite things to do is when you're in Blacksburg, you go like 13 miles an hour everywhere. And I understand it because you're really excited to look around campus. That's okay. But sometimes I'll be like, dude, there's a Honda Civic behind us. Like we gotta pick this up. But now you can just go 13 miles an hour and do laps on Main Street if you wanted to in Blacksburg in July.
You know, that is a good point, especially on like a high intensity, high volume amount of people game day weekend. Like you pull up to the traffic circle and it's a little bit of chaos, chaos, anarchy. It's all the above. And it is nice to just go there. And we went to Cabo Fish Taco on Saturday. We went to the Black Hen on Friday. Thursday night. That was the welcome dinner, the pre 4th of July celebration. Played the river course on the 4th of July. You know, 3 pars on the front, was feeling good. Lost a few balls in the behemoth of the New River, as one does on the back. Back wasn't as clean on the score sheet as one would imagine. Back is tougher at the river course. But beautiful day. Had unprecedented amounts of fun playing golf at the river course. Even got to check out Claytor Lake a little bit. Went to the New River, like down by the New River Junction on Saturday night. Did a campus walk after eating Cabo, after grabbing some Sugar Mag ice cream. We did hit up Sugar Magnolia 2 out of 3 nights over the weekend. Ran into Chris Coleman, caught up with Chris.
Go.
It was great. The weather was unbelievable. Every morning, my mom and I getting coffee out back to the sunset or the sunrise. The New River Valley. Wow. Did I just do the sales pitch?
It sounds like you're still in a Blacksburg trance, dude. Like it sounds like it hasn't worn off.
You move up to New York and it was just hot. Like the week before the 4th of July, it was hot everywhere, but you know, it was city hot here. And it was, I got a five floor walk up, you know, it's some serious business in the summertime commuting to and from. So, it was good to get out for a little bit, get some clean mountain air. Shout out to John Laser, and just slow down. So I'm fired up about that, as you can tell. But I am enjoying life in the big city, enjoying being back in an office. That's a ton of fun. A lot of vibes, a lot of action, a lot of Hokies up here too. There are. We'll get some things going in the fall. I'm excited for that.
I spent my 4th in Lake Kiwi, which you are very, very familiar with Juliana and her lovely family. We took Mr. Frankie to Clemson University. He had an awesome time. Big photo shoot.
We got a dog.
Dude, we've covered the dog. Dog's been on the pod. Headed down to Clemson. Where else did we go? That is true. I have to work it in every single time.
We know you have a dog.
great.
Post about it like 12 times a day on your personal and on the Suns page.
That's my son. I've gotten better with the Suns stuff, the Suns page. That was tough. I went through like a 2-week stretch of posting Frankie specific videos to the Suns page.
It was like Frankie post, Long Island post, Frankie post, Long Island post. Dog days of summer.
It's tough.
We need some good news.
It's tough. But no, I had a great time at Lake Kiwi. Super hot. Really great spot. I had never heard about it until I was introduced to it a couple years back. So what we're going to do today is we asked you all for some Hokey hot takes. We said, hey, look, Hot Wings and Hot Takes is coming up in a little bit. We want Virginia Tech fans to send us some hot takes about this season. We're going to react to them. But before we do that, we do have to talk about our kickoff weekend events that we have. We haven't talked about it on the podcast. It's all over social media. So we have you fully covered for Virginia Tech and South Carolina and Atlanta. Number one, we have a party at Park Tavern in Atlanta. This is the day before the game. This is on Saturday. We have an open bar from 3 to 6 p.m. It's going to be awesome. Got all the football games on. Georgia's playing. I believe Georgia Tech is playing at that time. Alabama is playing Florida State. It's going to be an awesome day of football. 35 televisions everywhere. It's going to be great. Right after those 3:30 games are over, we have a live band. We'll share more details on who that band is tomorrow. The ink is not dry yet, but we know who it's going to be. And then also, I'm going to put this on the YouTube so you all can see it. T-shirts for Virginia Tech and South Carolina. Look, Pat, I have been on the record saying that I am so sick and tired of the ACC not getting on board with the SEC move of having awesome, like frat daddy T-shirts commemorating awesome games. So we partnered up with Glory Days in Charlotte. JD and his team did an amazing job putting this together. Went down with Willie T, did a shoot down there. It was awesome. These are limited edition. So we will have in the link below a link for tickets for Saturday night, a link for these T-shirts, and also a link for lodging. Patrick, get everybody caught up on lodging.
Here's the latest. If you're a Marriott guy or gal, or, maybe you like the Hyatt, maybe you like the Hilton. We have the Hilton Garden Inn Buckhead. It's $160 a night, including the breakfast buffet. Got the Hyatt Place Buckhead, $164 a night. Get some breakfast vouchers at the restaurant on site. And then for the Marriott folks, 2 options. I am a Marriott Bonvoy guy, I must say. And got the Whitley Buckhead. That is where Pat and BRM are crashing for the night. $199 per night in Buckhead. And then the Spring Hill Swagger Suites, $169 a night, including the breakfast buffet. It was really hard to get Billy to not stay somewhere with a buffet. So we will be we'll be taking our talents to the Marriott Whitley Buckhead. Might be a subtle plug for Whitley's Peanuts in there as we get closer. Might have to do some fun crossovers with those folks, but we are excited. I know there's rooms available still at some of those properties, but we have the documentation on our website, and we will also make sure it is linked in this article and on X. So you guys have all the information you need to make a decision on your lodging affiliations for the weekend. If you have friends and family in Atlanta, crash with them. That's cool. Airbnb, that's cool. But we implore you to stay at one of our spots because that's where the Hokies are hanging out in Buckhead.
And you're saving some money. So to recap, party Saturday night, T-shirts are available, and then discounted hotels. You have plenty of options to choose from. It's all going to be all over our social media. It'll be in the description of the YouTube video as well. I do want to shout out to, number one, Nashville was great. It was so awesome. It took a lot of people to make that happen. Super appreciative of everybody popped out. We're hoping to make this a recurring deal. Anytime we go to a big city like in Atlanta, like in Nashville. I know that we're headed to Tucson in a couple of years. We're headed to Salt Lake City, I believe, if any of these games end up happening. But It's really, really cool. And we love to get together and figure this stuff out. And this would not be possible without Spalding Equipment, the entire Spalding family who had helped us in the Nashville event and is sponsoring again this year. So Spalding Equipment, their mission is to cultivate a lasting relationship with their customers based on honesty and reliability. They strive to serve our community by providing outstanding service and reliable products to their customers to ensure we all grow together. This is wonderfully worded. At Spalding Equipment, exceptional service is provided by their factory-trained technicians with over 30 years of experience. They are able to service most brands of farm tractors and equipment. Shout out to Spalding Equipment. Would not be here without you. You all rock. And without further ado, we are going to get into these Hokey hot takes. Now, one caveat. A lot of you put a win-loss tally with your takes. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. But we'll be doing a record prediction later on, and it would be pretty, there aren't that many different record combinations that we can run through. So we did present these takes without the record. I believe I left it in on one because you needed it to help out with it. But Pat, I will let you read them and then we'll talk about them here.
Right off the jump, this is the very much measurable hot take from Chris McBride, and we're going to find out very early about it. Virginia Tech beats South Carolina in Atlanta on August 31st. Billy Ray.
It's been pretty universally accepted. Like when you're talking to friends about this game or you're talking to fellow Hokies, honestly, I can't imagine how many times this has happened. Somebody asks you, hey, what are you doing for Labor Day weekend? There are probably plenty of Virginia Tech fans that are saying, dude, going to the Tech South Carolina game, going to be a bloodbath, but got to go down there. And I tend to agree. I think most people would say Virginia Tech doesn't have a chance to win that ball game. But every day we get closer, and I do this every year, but I do think there are a couple reasons that this is fair. What if we just don't? What if that's not what happens? And I'm thinking about this. South Carolina is 58th in returning production this year. And I got to tell you, there might not be a player in America that is getting more hype than Lenoris Sellers. I mean, I don't know of one. Pete B surfaced a tweet that had some big account was saying Lenoris Sellers looks like Cam Newton when he runs the football. And I think Lenoris Sellers is really good. I think he's a really solid football player, but if you think back over the last couple of years, like 2022, we were all told that Tyler Van Dyke is going to be a Heisman finalist. He was awful for Miami. If you go back to 2021, you had Sam Howell, who was going to be a Heisman finalist. He was he wasn't awful, but he wasn't a world beater. Spencer Rattler, when he got to Oklahoma, he was the second coming of, the next big 5-star quarterback at a big school. So I don't know. There's so much that's changing. We have new coordinators, and we're going to talk about some of the other players that are here. I'm moving further and further away from just universally accepting that this trip to Atlanta is going to be a gift bag of Virginia Tech getting trounced by South Carolina. What say you?
Lenoris Sellers is okay. Cam Newton. Who said that? Are we serious?
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up while you're talking about it.
Like, what is Lenoris Sellers? Like 6'3", 240?
Here it is. PFF College tweeted, Sellers gives you shades of Cam Newton as a runner. Trevor Sikkema on Lenoris Sellers. Interesting.
I mean, I'll give him Jalen Hurts. I'm not going to give him Cam Newton. Yeah. And Jalen Hurts was containable in college. Cam Newton was unstoppable in college. Yeah. I don't think we should be crowning Lenoris Sellers. Lenoris Sellers, go and watch his tape versus Old Dominion last year. He went 10 of 23. Like, he only completed 65% of his passes last year. This is not like some elite quarterback coming back in. Like, he had a great year last year. He finished very strong. Like, that Clemson game, he was a ton of fun to watch. He had a big run against LSU last year. Like, clearly he has the physical gifts. that make him worth turning on the TV on Saturday and saying, hey, what's Lenore Sellers doing? That being said, just because he has the physical gifts does not mean we can just anoint him as, a college quarterback who is going to dominate the football game. This guy has an incredible upside, but incredible upside is just incredible upside until you actually power through and have results that are worth talking about. So I'm with you, Billy. I wouldn't necessarily jump into the camp of saying I'm tired of hearing about this guy or he's extremely overrated. I think, you could make the argument that just because Kairen Drones wasn't on an SEC football team 2 years ago, like if Drones was on South Carolina or if Drones was on LSU, like he would have gotten similar hype to Lenore Sellers that he's getting right now, just with the frame, with the athleticism, with some of the deep ball qualities we saw in 2023 from Drones and the dual threat ability as well. So bottom line is I'm very excited to watch him play week 1. Should be fun. Should be fun to watch him all year.
I think that people are so bummed out by the current situation that we're acting like the way that some people are talking about us going to play South Carolina, who's over under in Vegas is 7.5 wins. People are talking about it as if we're going to play like Georgia week 1. Like, with all due respect to South Carolina's program, they've done a really good job, but I am pushing back against the narrative that we are just going to go to Atlanta and get blown out. And if that happens, it's going to be a huge bummer and it's going to be a long season. But I do believe we have a chance to be really competitive. That's what I would say. So, Chris, first and foremost, I think we need to have a narrative shift of where we're not going down to Atlanta the way that Duke goes down to play Clemson, and they're like, oh, it's going to be a fun weekend. Like, we're going to show up and try to win the football game. Maybe I'm just getting in that football Kool-Aid mode, but why not? 2 new coordinators, talented quarterback, got guys coming back. This guy Terrian Stewart, we'll talk about him a little bit later. I mean, I like it. We got 2 smushed together here, Pat.
Next one. So we had Cougar Hokey, Andrew Carney come in. Cougar, neither Miami nor Clemson make the ACC championship game. And then the second take was, I think Ohio State goes back-to-back. Virginia Tech wins 3 games by single digits, and the ACC championship won't be Clemson or Miami or Florida State. I think the ACC championship will be someone new this year, maybe SMU. So obviously, there's a reason why we mush these 2 takes together.
Yeah. Let's take these one by one here. I have a really hard time saying that X team is going to win the national title. I think in the age of the playoff, you almost have to say this team has a chance to compete for a national title because so much of it comes down to seeding. So much of it comes down to everything else. I'll just say regarding Ohio State, I think Oregon is not talked about nearly enough. I think Dan Lanning's time is coming, and it very well could be this year. And Penn State, this is probably the best chance that they've had, I would say, under James Franklin to win a national championship. Like, they have everything you could possibly want to put yourself in a position to compete for a title. So I think the Big Ten is pretty crowded. And let's run through some of the other ones here. Number 1 on the single-digit score games. I have no idea.
If you look at the data.
I don't know what our record's going to be in 2025. These 2 things are true. Number 1, we're not going to do this getting railroaded in the fourth quarter because of the condition that our football team is in this year. Like, Coach Ferg is absolutely going to have the guys in much better shape, in much better condition to attack the fourth quarter. Now, what does that leave it on? It leaves it on coaching and it leaves it on talent. I have no idea what's going to happen there. I would say, number 1, I was listening to the Grayson pod on 2 Deep, and Sam made a great point. It's very difficult for you to go what we have gone in 1-score games. And in the words of Trinidad James, Bruno Mars, and Grayson Wimbish, don't believe me, just watch. Like, we have done that. So that's kind of tough to win those those 3 single-digit games. Another one. I have a very hard time seeing Clemson not only win the ACC, but compete for a national title. They are number 1 in the country in returning production. We're talking a lot about the receivers who are extremely talented at Ohio State and extremely talented at Alabama, rightfully so. Clemson has the best room of wide receivers in college football. I think Clemson is as good as they have been since I would say when Trevor Lawrence was there and they were competing for national titles. So that would shock me. As far as Florida State and Miami are concerned, it's very interesting. Tale of 2 quarterbacks. Nobody likes Carson Beck at all. I think he's like the most maligned college football player in the world. But I think he can play. I think he's going to have a really good year at Miami. And Castellanos is kind of like, you have the iPhone Plus and then you had the iPhone SE and it was the smaller iPhone. Think of the iPhone as DJ Uiagalelei was the Pro model or the Plus model. And then Castellanos is the SE model where it's like, wait, so you took a quarterback who had flaws at Boston College and you're bringing him in to be your starter at Clemson. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or your starter, at Florida State. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's what they're doing. So, Florida State, Miami, I'll give you those. Clemson, I would be floored if they are not winning the ACC this year.
Yeah, I wish I could zag any of this just to make this conversation more interesting, but Cade Klubnik is so awesome, and Clemson's wide receivers are going to be lights out this year. They also have the pedigree. Like, they fought through a tough schedule last year and arrived and still made the playoff. Had to go into DKR, and it didn't work out for them against a talented Texas team. But, yeah, everyone's back. Like, how could you bet against that team is my first question there. I am so intrigued by the Thomas Castellanos. Like, can I call this an experiment?
It's not the year to be having an experiment either, which is so wild.
I just, especially after DJ, which was also an experiment.
Yes.
Is this, just the last ditch effort to pull in a, I guess,
stopgap situation?
Perceived talented guy. Is this even an upgrade from DJ? Thomas Castellanos goes on, talks about how Florida State could compete with Nick Saban or something, crazy a few weeks ago. It was just the peak off-season highlight, in a boring end of June. I know he's from Georgia. I know he called Florida State his dream school. I think this is certainly a redemption arc opportunity and could certainly be an opportunity for Thomas Castellanos to be like a fun story to follow throughout the entire season. I just don't know if he's the Infinity Stone to actually turn the ship around at Florida State. Like Thomas Castellanos, Mayhew went toe to toe with him and beat him. He knocked him out. He wasn't even wearing pads.
It's a wild move to make when you are in Florida State's in one of the weirdest positions of any school I can ever remember. Being Mike Norvell and being in this situation, and you're like, yo, Tommy Castellanos, that's my guy. It is just a really bizarre choice. So I'm with you on Florida State and Miami. I don't really know what to expect. On Clemson, I think Clemson's going to be an absolute buzzsaw. And Pat, I'll raise you this.
Well, I was just saying, last thing on Florida State. You know who their new offensive coordinator is, right?
No.
Gus Malzahn.
Oh, the Gus bus? Okay. He has made the most out of limited quarterbacks. I think back to Nick Marshall at Auburn. I think back to, talk about a coach who dealt with a ton of. We talk about Virginia Tech having a bunch of different quarterbacks. I feel like Auburn went through quarterbacks every year. Was some guy you had never heard of ever was playing quarterback over at Auburn.
So Castellanos actually played under Gus at UCF too. He was recruited by Gus to UCF. So these are like this is what college football is today, where you might have Joe Schmo get recruited in 2025, and in 2029 he's playing for the same guy that recruited him just like 2 schools ago.
Tommy Castellanos was at Boston College at one point, or was at UCF at one point.
UCF 2022.
Wow. I did not even know that.
Yeah. So the
it is so
reunion
weird.
of Castellanos and Gus Malzahn is happening in Tallahassee, and it should be an interesting reunion for sure. We play them in November.
I know. That game for me is like if we're playing somewhat of interesting football in November, I would like to go. But it'll be like I'm going to go through like my schedule because it's weird.
It's not easy to get to.
It's not easy to get to, but it is fun. My thing, and I'm going to catch a lot of crap for this because I do every year. I said this last year. I got to tell you, man, like it is really difficult for me to hate this Clemson team. Like I really like Cade Klubnik. This Dabo redemption story where like everyone's like, dude, he's so dumb. He's not adjusting to anything. Like he'll be out of the game. Him not playing this transfer portal thing. Like I don't know, man. Like, and they're really your only chance to, if they come out and they punch LSU in the mouth week 1, like that would be a huge deal for not just Clemson, but also the ACC. So I don't know. The ACC has been riding the coattails of Clemson for a long time. And then everybody was kind of celebrating that Dabo lost his fastball. And here he is again as one of the odds-on favorite to compete for a national title. I think Clemson went from like underdog to like the next team that everybody was going to hate to now they're almost kind of unhateable. Not even from just a Virginia Tech perspective.
Can I make a fun comparison that's going to make a lot of people listening to this throw up?
Yeah, please.
I think this era of Dabo, or maybe just Jabo in general, is your comparison to your love of Tony Bennett coaching UVA basketball.
Ooh. Do you agree with it though?
I think from a very high level, they're both motivational. They prioritize culture and loyalty and, bringing a guy in and having him all 4 years.
Yeah.
Not necessarily huge portal guys. I mean, Bennett's not in the game anymore because of the portal and NIL.
They're program guys. They're like old school program guys. Like you think of them as young because Tony Bennett and Dabo Swinney, when they bursted onto the scene, they were relatively young coaches. But in a very weird way, like he's not the old guard, but he's been at one school. I would be surprised to know how many coaches have been at one school longer and are still active than Dabo Swinney. I actually can't think of one right now because it would have been Brian Kelly. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else is. I'm sure somebody else is, but I can't think of them.
Yeah. And also kind of their programs were good in the 1980s, Clemson football, UVA basketball, good in the 80s, Ralph Sampson. I couldn't tell you who was a star for Clemson back then.
Clemson won a title in 83 or 86 or something like that.
And then here, 2015 to 2023, 2024 for Tony Bennett. Similar era. Clemson wins 2 natties in football. Tony Bennett wins a natty in basketball. I feel like there's a similar criticism for both. Tony Bennett's game is boring and Dabo's game is unconventional. So, there's a comp right there. But I'm with you on the Clemson train as well. I just really like Cade Klubnik. Yeah. Sitting behind him at the Clemson game last fall, seeing how he commanded the respect of everyone on his sideline, going out there and, throwing ridiculous touchdowns, which, was to our demise. And but I like Cade Klubnik as an individual and as a football player, and I think he has a lot of potential to do something special this year for Clemson. So I do think Clemson will be in the ACC title game.
Yes.
What's next? You got anything else to add to that before we move to Luke?
No, let's move to Luke.
Luke Skippy Wheeler says, Kairen Drones makes huge strides, stays healthy. Defense and team are opportunistic and provide a shot at the title game down the stretch. Okay, sure. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily a measurable hot take. But I guess we could take this and bottle it up and measure it as Virginia Tech is playing meaningful football in the month of November, and Kairen Drones has not missed any games, and we are excited about him taking our team to the next level into November. That's how I would.
Yeah, I would say this. Providing a shot at the title game. I don't know what title we're talking about. That would be awesome. Again, I keep using this term, but I don't know what our record's going to be, but I know we're going to be in better shape. And I personally am buying everybody's Kairen Drones stock. I just am. I think if you look back at last year, yes, the injury, but here are the three other things. We reinvented the offense in the middle of 2023. And when it fit correctly and when receivers were, getting separation and catching the football, he looked awesome. So you look back at 2024, he's unhealthy. The offensive line it's not just that the offensive line was bad. He can't trust his offensive line, and he also can't trust his wide receiving group. I'm not saying the wide receiver room wasn't talented, because it most certainly was talented. Daquan Felton is on an NFL camp or NFL roster or whatever. Jalen Lane is going to have an awesome career in the NFL, it looks like. Ollie Jennings is an athlete. It's a really good room. Steven Gosnell, it was a good room. But ultimately, they were a really unreliable group. I don't even think that's debatable. And the offensive line, super unreliable. So you have a quarterback who's injured, trying to overcompensate with an offensive line he doesn't trust and a wide receiver group that he probably doesn't trust. I totally understand how you would regress that year. So you look at 2025, Drones, by the limited information that we have, should be healthy. This is the best offensive line that he has had in his career at Virginia Tech. We brought in a bunch of talent. We're deeper. We're bigger. I think the offensive line is going to take a huge step forward. And then again, I know Bashal Tutin is going to be playing for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but Terrion Stewart is a very good back who's coming to play in Blacksburg, and nobody's talking about him. I just pull up his statistics from last year. In his career, from 2020, he averaged 8 yards per carry, 6 yards per carry, 6 yards per carry, 5.4 yards per carry. He had 898 yards last year on 166 carries. I'm really excited about what he's going to bring. And also the film that's out on Kairen, the film that's out on our offense, you can throw that all out and we're going to look completely different. So this mantra of, damn, we don't really have an answer at quarterback. We have an answer at quarterback, and he has this entire summer and early fall to get ready to roll. And I'm excited to see what it looks like, because he has every tool that you can ask for. And I think Kairen is going, if he is healthy, I think he has a very, very good year.
His health is literally everything right now.
100%.
If we have him at 100% on August 31st, I say Virginia Tech has a chance to win this football game. He's had time to kind of gather himself between the ears as well. At this point, he is approaching veteran status on the field. I know you can't really say he's really started a full season of football at Virginia Tech. So new offensive coordinator and time to heal. I do think you could get Pittsburgh 2023 or Miami 2024 Kairen Drones out there early in the year. So if he is healthy, I do think there's a lot of upside for this club this fall. So thank you, Matt Miller, for bringing in some new guys on up front, some big uglies up front that can protect our guy. Yeah, because we won't get into the X's and O's of what happened last year with Kairen Drones and how he got hurt a few times. But I think every Hokey fan should be extremely intrigued on how he looks week one, assuming he is cleared to play and ready to go.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to what the wide receiver room looks like. I got to tell you, of all of the rooms on Virginia Tech's football team, receiver is the one I really am excited to learn about. And you don't learn a lot when you're reading about what's going on at camp, but that's the only time we're going to learn about it. Kind of have a pretty good feel.
Gonna miss Jay Lane.
Yeah.
Big time. Gonna miss. I got to say, like, I think last year one of the biggest disappointments was the lack of deep ball connectivity between Drones and Quan Felton.
Yeah.
And who is going to emerge as that deep ball threat this year? You know, Ollie Jennings was a disappointment last season as well. Like, we went into 2024 thinking this wide receiver core was going to break a lot of records. At least I said that on the record and got shredded for it when things didn't really turn out that way. So who are going to be those guys? Like, we know nothing about them, and I kind of like that. Let's be surprised.
I love this question because we just put this video out today. Clay Best. Hokies go all caps undefeated at home. Okay. I did some research. How many times has this happened?
I love that you did this.
Yeah. How many times has this happened in Virginia Tech history? 1918, Virginia Tech went 7-0 in the regular season, did not lose a game at home. 1954, we went 8-0-1 with one tie on the road. In 1999, we didn't lose any games, so we went undefeated at home. And then in 2008, this is actually kind of crazy. In 2008, we went 10-4, but we didn't lose at home at all. So it's happened 4 times. 2023, I mean, dude, like, if you ever have to go 6-6, this is the way to do it. Like, that is how you go 6-6. Like, that is the man. If 6-6 were a dessert, it's the big 2,000-pound cheesecake. Like, it is unbelievable. And we went 4-2 at home, so it's pretty tough to do. If you look at the schedule. Let's look at the schedule for a second. You got Vanderbilt at night. You got Old Dominion at night. Then you got Wofford. You got Wake for homecoming. You got Cal on Friday night. And you're like, wow, that's kind of doable. And then you look at November. And you have Louisville and you have Miami. So for this to happen, it means that in September, we get the out-of-conference Power 5 win off of our back, which would be a tremendous development to have that done. That would be great to get that off of our back. This would also mean that we beat 2 of the top 3 ACC champion odds favorites in Miami and Louisville. And those games are the bread between the sandwich that is Florida State, who you're going to play on the road in November. I'll tell you what, November, dude, might be no TV November. Might be tough. And then that would also mean that we have 3 wins in a row in September with 2 under the lights. And September has been quite spooky in Blacksburg, Virginia for the Hokies these last couple of years. So I would love to go undefeated at home. I would not say it's very likely. But if you were just looking at this, like, it's pretty doable until you get to November. Not sure what your thoughts are.
I mean, I would be extremely surprised and extremely happy for us to go undefeated at home for only the 5th time ever. Mm-hmm. Hat tip and kudos to you for doing that research. The fact that from 1995 to 2011, we only went undefeated at home 2 times.
Isn't that crazy?
It is crazy considering that 2008 team had just so many flaws and was so fun to watch. Really got lucky against Georgia Tech in September of 2008, I will say, with a late hit out of bounds or a helmet-to-helmet call on Tyrod late in the game in the 4th. 20-17 win. Orange unis look good. I got to tell you, going undefeated at home is like, there's like a 3% chance of this happening. You got to welcome Jeff Brom to town. That guy can coach football, okay? And then you got to welcome Miami to town late in the year, right before UVA. If that game means something, I think Virginia Tech can win that football game. If that game means something at that point, that means we've gotten through Louisville.
Yeah.
You know? My dad's like, dude, we're going to Miami game. We're going to the Miami game. He's got that one circled for his college buddies. He's coming to Cal as well. I think he might go to Wake and one in September. He's like, yeah, we're all circling Miami. I'm like, all right. We got a good Miami team coming to town, and we better be able to stack up. At least just circle that on the calendar as the big-time revenge game. Every single player in that locker room who was down there in Miami Gardens last year, and every protester who marched on Charlotte that following Sunday, they're going to be fired up.
Yeah.
So I'm getting pumped just thinking about it. Mario Cristobal, he's not going to outcoach you like Jeff Brom might outcoach you.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
There's a comp there.
I will say Miami coming to Blacksburg in November is a spooky situation for the Hurricanes. Again, I just hope, and we have a question to this point. I really hope that we're playing meaningful football in November. Unfortunately, I got bit by the wedding bug for the Miami game, so I will be watching from my phone, which is tough. It's tough.
Dude, just like last year's Miami game.
Hold on. Let's show our cards here. What are our wedding games this year? I'm getting crushed at weddings for Miami. I'm getting crushed for a wedding at Georgia Tech, and I think that's it. I think those are the two that I have weddings on.
Honestly, it's most of the slate the first half of the year. I think the last one is like October 17th. I will say the most there's two that are kind of devastating. One is Vanderbilt home opener at night versus an SEC team, and the wedding's in Culpeper. Going to Virginia for the wedding. The other one,
you're gonna smell it. You're gonna smell the stadium, dude.
The other one's The other one, I'm gonna literally smell the stadium because it's at NC State.
No,
late September. That game, I'm flying in to Raleigh.
Oh,
and will not be in attendance at Carter Finley in Raleigh because I will be at a fall wedding. So just a reminder to please call your senators, write into your local representation banning fall weddings in your local jurisdictions.
Stuff. Yeah.
You want to win the New York City mayoral election this fall? Ban fall weddings, okay? A lot of controversy up here going on around this mayoral election. How about we ban the fall weddings first and then we vote? All right. That's it. That is the least bit controversial. Okay.
I
put it on a shirt.
Completely agree with you. So Nicholas VDM, the ACC has 3 teams in the playoffs: Clemson, Louisville, and Georgia Tech, and North Carolina finishes bottom 3rd in the ACC. Pat, I want to get your thoughts on this. I got to tell you,
you love Brent Key.
No, yes, but first, I hate North Carolina. I hate North Carolina. They're probably number 1 on the teams that I hate in the ACC. I really do. They're soft. Like I don't like them. The amount of people that are acting like Bill Belichick is just going to be this absolute train wreck people are like factoring in that Bill's just going to be awful. I looked today, UNC top 20 class in recruiting right now. Bill Belichick, to my knowledge, knows X's and O's pretty well. And also, UNC's schedule is an absolute joke. They play Clemson. That's their first ACC game, but then they play at Cal, UVA, at Syracuse, Stanford, Duke, and NC State. They play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 brainiac schools in a row, and then NC State, whose coach is very likely to be fired at the end of this season. I do not think that UNC is going to finish bottom third. I actually think that they have a better chance to be. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff, but what I am telling you is they are going. I think they can legitimately finish in the top 3 or 4 in the ACC, just based upon how easy their schedule is and how good of an X's and O's guy Bill Belichick is. If he gets guys in who are just good enough to compete against the teams he's playing against, I believe in his ability to run circles around coaches and X's and O's. That's just my opinion.
I think a lot of people's hot takes on North Carolina football this year are emotionally driven. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave that. Everyone's hoping for a train wreck. Everyone's hoping that Jordan Hudson, I think that's her name, continues to make headlines for the wrong reasons down in Chapel Hill. But to what Billy just said, and to Bill Belichick, it's Bill Belichick. You know, Bill Belichick makes the in-game decisions to win the games. But Bill Belichick will probably outcoach every coach that he's going up against when it comes to in-game decisions. You just got to get the right guys in the right places. So he is not only just an X's and O's guy, he has a top 20 class, and he has Carolina NIL, whatever that means. I'm sure it's in the top third of what the ACC is putting out these days on the NIL books. So I think everyone is going to hate watch them for sure. And I can only hope that they're going to, be in the bottom third, but I would not be surprised if they're bowl eligible by mid-October.
Yeah. And they're obviously not the same at all, but there was a large group of people who thought that Deion was just going to fail because he was different. And he came in and, year 2 Colorado looks pretty damn good. And, you're talking about Bill Belichick. And also, we're acting like he's never dealt with, like, carnival stuff going around his program. People were trying to, get Tom Brady suspended for an entire year for deflating footballs. They were angry at him for filming other practices. This isn't a guy who's never dealt with, the media circus before. I think it's going to be pure cinema when he is at ACC Media Day. I cannot wait to be there and see what that looks like. I have no idea what to expect. I might wear a GoPro and live stream the entire thing. It's going to be unbelievable. So let's go into some of these other teams. So
is this the hottest take across the board so far, or is the Tech going undefeated at home? I think that's the hottest take.
I would say the hottest take is probably either Clemson not making the ACC title game or going undefeated at home. I think Clemson not making the ACC title game is pretty wild. I would say it's wilder than us going undefeated at home. And then the second half of this one is Clemson, Louisville, and Georgia Tech make the playoff. So let's go through each one. Georgia Tech, love this pick. Another fortuitous schedule. I'm kind of just chopping out the out of conference. Their in conference is Clemson, going to be tough. But then you have Wake, Tech, Duke, Syracuse, NC State, Boston College, Pittsburgh. Not really a ton of world beaters there. Syracuse is going to be worse. I have no idea what to expect out of Duke. Boston College, probably going to be worse. NC State, disaster situation. Wake Forest, who knows? So I don't really know what to expect there. And I love Brent Key, as you said earlier. Louisville, probably my dark horse in the ACC. Louisville has been building, getting better. They have a little bit of a tougher schedule. They do play Miami, they do play Clemson, and they do play SMU in conference. It's going to be tough to come out of there. I think if you come out with 2 of 3, you should feel pretty good about yourself. And we've already been through Clemson. Feel really good about that. But here's the problem. The problem with the ACC getting 3 teams in, I actually think it's more likely that the ACC will get 1 team into the playoff. And here's why. Week 1 of college football has disaster potential written all over it for the ACC. If you think back to this previous year of basketball for the ACC, perception is reality. And if you come out and you get absolutely destroyed by some of these other conferences, you're not gonna get 3 teams in. You're not gonna do it. The problem with the Big 12 last year is they just decimated each other. And then Arizona State was standing on top of the pile, and they're just like, I guess we'll go to the playoff. But if you look at the ACC's Week 1 schedule, these are all losable games for the ACC. NC State is hosting ECU. Horrifying. Just terrifying situation. Okay? We've all been there. Stanford is getting on a plane and playing Hawaii. Cal is playing at Oregon State. Oregon State is in a fake conference right now. And I don't know anything about Cal. And then here's the meat and the potatoes. Syracuse is playing Tennessee. Don't feel great about Syracuse there. Alabama's playing Florida State. Don't feel great about that, especially after Tommy Castellanos was running his mouth. Coastal's playing UVA. Can't count on that too well. And then LSU at Clemson, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Notre Dame at Miami, TCU at UNC. Pat, like, the ACC cannot lay an egg here. It is not an option. But I don't love a lot of these matchups for the ACC. I do not.
All we can do is cross our fingers and cross our toes and say a few prayers. That's all I have for that. That's really it.
Yeah,
it's tough out of the gate.
So I would respond to your hot take with my hot take of it is more likely to me that the ACC gets 1 team than it is that they get 3. So we'll see what happens.
Looks like the next take is from Clemma. Hokies beat South Carolina. Start season 3-1, heading into ACC play. Then lose to NC State and Georgia Tech by a combined 50 points.
Clemma, very hyper-specific. I do appreciate you writing in, but it inspired my next question. Now, we've all played FMK, and I wanted to dumb that down into date, marry, or ghost, but then I realized that's actually really stupid. We should just rank these based upon what's the worst and what's the best. So, Pat, here's what I'm going to ask you. These are like my 3 nightmare scenarios. I left UVA out because I feel like that's just the automatic choice. If you lose that game, that would be your number 1. But give me these in from worst to not as bad of losing to Cal on Friday night at home, losing to Vanderbilt at night at home, or losing 3 games in November. In November, we play Louisville, Florida State, UVA, and who is the third team that we play? Sorry, 1 second. We play Miami, Florida State, Louisville, and Virginia. So what of those are the worst? I know mine.
So losing 3 games in November, if we are being honest, we're probably going to be the underdog in 3 out of 4 in November. So you could say that the expectations are for us to go 1-3 in November. So I will actually put that last.
Yeah.
Because
meaning that it's not the worst.
That is under the assumption that we are underdogs in all 3 of those.
Sure. Yes.
Those games.
Mm-hmm.
I think losing to Cal is the worst in this scenario.
I completely agree with you.
Because
we've
already lost to Vanderbilt. We already know what that's like. They beat us, and then they went ahead and they beat Alabama. So as much as that week 1 game sucked, it sucked a little less once they took down Alabama at home and took that field goal post into the Cumberland River. That was pretty cool. Diego Pavia, pretty cool guy. He's going to come to Lane Stadium. That's going to be exciting. Let's be honest. I don't know who is going to be favored in that football game. I really don't. I think the Cal game is, this is the ESPN home game. This is an ACC game. There's
nothing else on, dude.
The communists of California. You cannot lose to Cal at home. No,
dude. I'm not kidding. This would be this might sound hyperbolic. I truly believe that losing to Cal at home would be on the level of losing to ODU in Norfolk. Like everybody is watching it. It's not like just happening on ESPN2 at like 12:30 and there's all these other games on. Like that will be a moment for some people where there's like a 60-year-old on the couch with like his 18-year-old like grandson, and Cal is beating Virginia Tech in the Terror Dome, and they're just like, you know what, grandson, 10 years ago, Tech would have beat him by 1,000. Like it would just be, dude, it would be so awful. I actually get creepy crawlies thinking about it. I think that is a worst case scenario for this. You cannot lose that game. And where it sits too, like you look at the schedule right here, that is a game that you circle where like if you're like hovering around 500 and then you lose that Cal game and then you turn the page to November, yeah. It is non-negotiable to me. A lot of people are saying the Vanderbilt game is a non-negotiable. It is the Cal game, the game against the Golden Bears at home on primetime television when nobody else is playing. You cannot lose this football game
against that creepy bear. We already went out there. We took care of business in Palo Alto or Levi Stadium, wherever they play, against their crosstown rivals. This is a non-negotiable. Dude. You have to beat Cal at home at night in Lane Stadium. They'll probably do some special thing honoring the special team. Maybe they'll honor the 2010 team. 15 years since their
they
last
might do
title.
like Cal might do
God.
like a isn't Tim Sands from Cal? Like is Cal going to give him like the key to the city at halftime?
He's going to say, "Welcome to Cal East. It's great to have you guys here." No, I'm just kidding.
We cannot lose that game.
Non-negotiable. Lose to Cal, and no one else shows up for a single game in November. Okay.
I think it would be very bad. It would be very, very bad.
That being said, if you were to tell me that one of the November losses was UVA, then I think that would be. I think we might slot that in the number one spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a lot. The buck stops there with a lot of Hokie fans, and I know that if you lose to UVA, like just cancel the season.
I know. I'm not going to disagree with you there. I'm just saying on like
in Charlottesville.
It would be pretty piss poor. Like every time I look at this schedule and I see this script blue Cal, I'm just like, dude, like it legitimately cannot happen. It's not even on Thursday where like some people might be watching Thursday night football in the NFL. Like it's on Friday. Like there will be parents driving their kids back from high school football games, and their kid will turn on their iPhone and check their Be Real app and be like, "Dad, Virginia Tech lost to Cal." And dad just loses his mind, bashes his head against the steering wheel. It can't happen, dude. It can't happen. That was one of the more entertaining conversations and debates that we've had, and I'm glad that we're on the same page.
Kate Lawson comes in. Kate, I hope.
This would be awful.
I don't know what drove you to type these.
Choose violence.
Out. Three wins.
Pop is quarterback by game 3. I mean, you know what
3
sucks?
wins. So 3-9.
You know what sucks?
Okay.
You know what we need to retire? Like this has to be retired.
This is the Chris Rieger take.
No, it's not the Chris Rieger take. Here's what has to be retired. I feel like a lot of people, when they're like thinking of worst case scenario, they don't say how many games we're going to win. They say that like Pop is starting, which I think is kind of crazy. Like Pop has won games at the Division I level, and people are just like, dude, we're going to be bad and Pop starting by week 3. Like I think Drones is the starter. I think Drones gives us the best chance to win. But this is almost this. What would this be like saying? This would be like, like Mets fans being like, we're going to win 30 games and Tim Tebow starts in center field. Stop. Pop Watson is let's stop throwing him in there when we talk about disaster scenarios. But 3 wins, dude. I mean, 3 wins, you're losing to Cal and probably Wake. So, I mean, probably, hopefully not. MC Pokey. 4 different quarterbacks will see the field this year. I want your take because I'm going to shock you here.
Are you going to pull a gadget take? I hadn't seen this take yet. I hadn't thought about this take yet. I think it's crazy off the jump. And then I think last year we saw 3. And we were 1 quarterback away from seeing 4 last year. So I don't think it is that crazy. And Colin Schley came in and performed when we needed him. He was great. And Pop did the same.
If we're going to have a good season this year, I hope we see 4 different quarterbacks. And here's why. We should beat Wofford. I don't care what version of a Virginia Tech team is rolling out there. We should beat Wofford by 50 points. Like, we should have every quarterback getting a snap in the Wofford football game. We should have multiple quarterbacks taking snaps against Old Dominion. So I actually think that we could see 4 quarterbacks. I think it's probably likely, even if we don't see backups against Wofford and Old Dominion, that you'll see 2 at some point. For most programs, you do see 2 quarterbacks. Just injury, helmet popping off, whatever. Like, the over-under should probably be set at like 2.5. For Virginia Tech, it's been set at like 3.5 every year, it seems like. But I would be pretty surprised. I'm going to be pretty surprised if we don't see 4. So, or disappointed is maybe the right word. Is that a podcast?
I have one more, and I'm gonna have to pull up my notes for it. We could take 5 more minutes.
Okay.
Did you have something to say?
No. I was wondering if you were gonna. You called me earlier today and you said, "Hey, got this take. I'm just gonna throw it out there." So I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm still like just having nightmares about the Cal game. But what do you got?
Yeah. So my take, and I don't even think this is a hot take at all. I just think there's some parallels that we can draw among 2 programs that we love pretty significantly. At least I grew up a huge Virginia Tech fan. I also grew up a huge fan of the U.S. men's national team.
Okay.
This is a football pod now. But I know Pete and Sam jump on and talk about soccer sometimes. I know that the group chat was popping off about the Gold Cup the other night, but I think the highs and lows and general fan parallels between Virginia Tech football and the United States men's national team, they've connected so many people with so many moments of joy over the past 20, 25 years, but both programs really just leave you wanting a little more and just are desperate for overachieving at some point. And I even say, we were talking about this 2 days ago. I was in the Roanoke airport and Casey brought this up. And he said, he was talking about the Mexico loss 2-1. And this was quote unquote the B team from the national team. And it's not, who we're going to be fielding in a World Cup or a World Cup qualifier. But, is the national team like Virginia Tech? And are these fan bases desperate for an overachiever? Both of these fans show up. They're so loud. They're so loyal, whether it's, taking over a stadium in Nashville on the road or going and filling up Lane Stadium for that UVA game last fall. So many World Cup qualifiers or big time men's national team games in Columbus or, even some games in Mexico. Kind of always believing like next year is the year, or like, hey, once this and this happen, then we'll have a better outlook. But I think we can compare some highs. We can compare some lows. If you want to talk highs on the U.S. side, got the World Cup quarterfinals in 2002. You beat Mexico. You beat Portugal in the group stage, which was a huge upset, 3-2. Own goal, shout out Jeff Agus. And nearly upset Germany. And the fans are feeling like, hey, we've arrived. Parallel, 99, Virginia Tech, Michael Vick, national championship. 1 quarter away. 2010, U.S. men's national team. Billy Ray, if you don't remember this, I know you're a football first guy. If you don't remember Landon Donovan's goal.
Oh, dude, the call was so epic. I do remember watching it. It was my grandparents' pool. We don't watch a lot of soccer, but it was go USA. Oh, dude.
USA. And you know, there's the YouTube compilations of all the fans who like might have been recording themselves freaking out, like partying everywhere. Landon Donovan goal, Penguin slide against Algeria, 2010 last minute winner to advance out of the group stage. You can compare that to, we can go to, let's call it 2004. 2004 ACC title game. Brian Randall hits Eddie Royal in Miami. Hokies clinch the ACC in year 1. Like those are two highs that are super high. Like 2004, you came into the ACC, you're picked to the bottom of the conference, and you go ahead and you just win it. Similar moments of joy. 2009, the USA wins in the Confederations Cup and beats Spain. This was just an unbelievable upset, snapping Spain's 35-game unbeaten streak.
Damn.
Just an absolutely incredible upset on the world stage. And Casey, if you're listening, the USA does have some big wins on the national stage, and this was one of them. We can either compare this. I wrote down 2 for this.
It's got to be
the Nebraska game. I think like you could argue like Nebraska was kind of like Landon Donovan's goal because of like last minute heroics, but also you could compare 2003 Miami here. Big upset over number 2. Miami was riding, 39 games in the regular season unbeaten. Very similar parallel. And then 2021 Gold Cup win with the B team over Mexico in the final. Get a goal in like the 117th minute. Something crazy deep into the game. Miles Robinson. I don't know if you want to comp this to Ohio State. I really don't.
I would have comped the
Ohio
previous
State
one.
Is a lot. Yeah, I think Ohio State is a lot higher on the list of highs. But, talking about lows, just constant. We're in a constant pendulum swing of highs and lows from the U.S. men's national team. You got Christian Pulisic, you got Weston McKennie, you got some of these young, talented guys that are, okay, let's get, it's like they're freshmen. You want them to be juniors and seniors. You want them to be like that 2010 Virginia Tech team with Danny Cole and Tyrod and Dyrell Roberts and Davon Morgan and a ton of talent on that team that won a championship. And like, okay, let's polish this Cole. Hopefully we'll get some diamonds. And, I feel like there's 2016 loss to Clemson, collapses in Kansas, Orange Bowl, 2011, just not being able to put it together against Clemson. Like we have some parallels with some of the national team losses against Mexico or the Trinidad and Tobago failure to make the qualifier in 2018 is very similar to last year. It's very similar to failures down the stretch in 2021 with Syracuse and Notre Dame and the that West Virginia loss in 2021. So I think really like these fan bases just keep coming back. They win. They live for the highs. They hate the lows, but it just seems like every cycle this is the year, or, hey, we show up, we chant, we jump to Sandman, we buy the shirts, we travel. There's always this feeling of believing. And even if it ends in the heartbreak, when it hits, and if it ever finally hits, it will be worth it. So just drawing some parallels.
No, it's really
fan
interesting.
Bases. I think a lot of folks will resonate here. I'm sure there's a lot more examples that we can throw into the mix. But I do think that if you are a Hokey and men's national team fan, comment. If you've made it this far in the podcast, if there's any other parallels you want to draw, there's any games that you've been to, any highs that you've experienced, we'd love to hear about it.
Well, I would say that was a helpful experience for me because my fandom of U.S. soccer is I'll watch the World Cup and then I'm tuned out. But it's very difficult to get the perspective of like, what do other fans see in Virginia Tech fans? And it's probably very similar. Like when I see a United States men's national team person, I'm like, dude, you like wear the scarf, like you're all in. Like you guys have kind of sucked and haven't done anything really exciting. And it's kind of a bummer to then say, wow, that's kind of similar. Like you have this rabid following that in a lot of different situations have fallen on their face there and have come close a couple of times, have done some pretty amazing things, but have never reached the pinnacle of what you are trying to accomplish. Pat, that was well done.
Yeah, it's just typical winner or top, upper 20% of CONCACAF in North America and Central America, similar to Virginia Tech, thriving in a down ACC, and has failed to break through and overachieve. And also just like from an identity standpoint, I think that's a big thing too. Like Virginia Tech football in their prime have an established identity. U.S. soccer is still kind of seeking like, who are we? And where are we at maturation? I think. So stick with them. World Cup is next year, 2026, and it's here. Yeah. So we will be participating. Tickets will be expensive. Are you
going to go?
Yeah, I think I should go in MetLife when they're here. Hoping they are slated to play at MetLife. I did attend the Italy versus Ireland game in 1994 at Giants Stadium.
What were you like?
I wasn't
2 months old.
I still had not been born, but my mom was at the game. Baby Pat, who had not been born yet, was physically there.
Respect.
Only World Cup game I've ever been to.
Well,
that's a pod.
Here coming up. That's a pod. Fun pod. If you made it this far, let us know your American soccer memories. Last thing, I want to start doing this on our pods. I want to shout out our new subscribers. If you're still here, like and subscribe. Luke Bryant, Adam James, Army Lax Fan, Johnny Bomia Jr., and Ava Kobus. Thank you all so much. Our most recent subscribers.
I think if we're going to do that, we gotta shout out the folks who joined the Section 5 Club this quarter.
We do have to shout out the people who have joined the Section 5 Club.
We got Jen. We got Jeremy Richardson. Tanner Goldschmidt, my neighbor at the Eagle at the Preserve in Blacksburg. Got to get together next time. It was a slow, low-key weekend, Tanner, but we got to link up next time. We got Trey, Keith Clesat, and Chris Bryan, all members of the Section 5 Club since our last go around here. So love you guys.
Hard.
Thank you for your support. And if you've made it this far and you haven't joined the Section 5 Club yet, but you're like, you know what? I can help these guys out with $5 a month. It's like a cup of coffee. These small coffee-sized contributions to Sons of Saturday and Section 5 help us put on fun events in the fall, like the Nash Bash last year and like this event in Atlanta if you're going. So help fuel the engine.
Chugga, toot, toot. Man, that was corny. All right. Enjoy the rest of your week, everybody. And football's right around the corner. We'll be talking about it soon. Peace.